Alright students, could you please go into your GarageBand app for me? Now, the first thing I would like you to look at is the drums instrument. Not the smart drums, but just the regular drums. It's right between the keyboard and the amp. Now, if you'll see, the first thing that comes up is this classic drum set. When you tap on it, and plays each part of the drum set. Just play around with that, see, get a feel for it. If you also look up in the very center at the top of the screen, right under the play button, you'll see it says Classic Studio Drum Set. If you click that, you get all these other options for different drum sets that you can use. Now go back to Instruments, which is at the top left corner of your screen. Now scroll to the left and go to the keyboard. Now the keyboard brings you up to the regular grand piano. You are also able to play around with how you want the keyboard set up. If you want to you can double up the keyboard so that you have a keyboard on top and a keyboard on the bottom, so that you can play higher octaves and lower octaves at the same time. You can also, if you see right next to that button's all the way to the far right, that allows you to change the keyboard. If you touch the little button that looks like a pyramid, it says arpeggiator. You can hit the run button and it will play around. Right now mine says 2-octave range, so what if I go 4-octave range? I'm just hitting the note G and it's going between all the G's in 4 octaves. If you have the doubled keyboard, go back to the regular keyboard. You can hit the grand piano right here and you can choose between different pianos that you would like to use. So, and there's keyboards, there's classic, there's bass instruments, there's lead instruments, different pads of different sorts, like I see one called Fuel Cell. I'll play around with that just to see what it sounds like. So now let's go back to Instruments. Now we're going to play with the smart guitar. Alright. The first thing you'll notice, you'll be on the acoustic guitar. If you hit the top of each of these where the macro chords are, so if I hit C, the letter C, it will actually just strum the whole chord for me. But if I want to, I can strum the chord myself or even play individual notes. And we're going to keep it in the key of C for this project. Also, if you go to the far right, you will notice a button that says Chords and Notes. If you click on that, it will bring you up to a fretboard, and you can actually start playing regular notes as if you were playing a guitar or if you were playing a scale. You can also do pitch bending. And then if you go to the far left, you can choose from different guitars. So let's try a hard rock guitar. And it also provides you some pedal sounds up top. So that gives me more distortion. This one gives me, it says a robo flanger, and gives me a robotic sound. And then again, you can also switch back to chords, and you can be playing chords. Back to instruments, and scroll to the left and use Smart Keyboard. Smart Keyboard is about the same. If you notice, it has these little separated slots which allow you to choose different octaves and different fingerings for these chords. So the higher up I am on the C chord, the higher it will play. And then these are the gray notes on the bottom are the bass notes. And you can play around with this for any chord. You can use the arpeggiator. I'm going to do a 4. So you can play around with that. I'll turn the arpeggiator off for now. You can also, again, choose different keyboards of whatever sound you're looking for your instruments. Now go back to instruments. Now we're going to choose the Smart Bass. The Smart Bass is almost the exact same thing as the Smart Guitar, except when you hit the note, it won't strum. It's basically you play individual notes for this. And again, you can choose different styles, like I can choose an upright bass. And this is all finger picking or pizzicato for the upright bass. It also has an autoplay feature. And that autoplay feature is this little dial up here, and it allows you to just play different loops, and it gives you different options. You can, like, and it has 4 of them for this, and then also you can go to notes, and of course, just like before, you can play as if you were playing individual notes. And actually, with the upright bass, as you know, upright basses do not have any frets. It is unfretted on the app as well, so it gives it more of a real feel for the upright bass, just in that instance. Now go back to instruments. Now let's play with the Smart Strings. This is a fun app, or this is one of my favorites. Of course, you've got the chords in the far right corner. You can also choose notes if you want. You have autoplay, and autoplay, even though we haven't been using it on all these instruments, they're there. It's there. But that's just built-in stuff that you can play around with. You can choose at the very top of your screen. You can see there's 2 violins, a viola, a cello, and a bass. And you can actually, they're all selected right away, but you can take out the first violin, a viola, and you can just have the bass and the second violin. And it'll just play those 2 instruments. But I'm going to select them all. Now, when you just tap each of these different octaves, it plays it as if you were doing a pizzicato. Now, one of the coolest things that I really like about this if you start your finger on one of these octaves and then drag it across, it'll bow it for you. And the faster you bow, the louder it is. Then of course you can play individual notes. This you scroll over and you can play. You can play the individual instruments. So I can play viola, I can play violin. You can play violin, viola, cello, bass, in whatever way you want. Our last thing that we are going to explore for instruments is the smart drums. Now, this allows you to, first of all, you can choose whatever drum set you want by choosing this button or this area over here, and then you can choose from 3 different drum sets and 3 different drum machines. I'm going to choose the Classical Studio Kit, and then it gives you 8 different parts of the drum set that you can use. And it's pretty self-explanatory, this grid. The louder you want it, you put it towards the top. The quieter you want it, put it towards the bottom. If you want it to be a really simple part for that instrument, you put it towards the simple side. If you want it to be complex, you put it more towards that side. And this automatically mixes a beat for you. So if you can see right here, I have my bass drum in a very simple, somewhat quiet spot. A little louder, and my snare drum is in a little more complex, louder spot, and then the hi-hat over here is in a very complex and a louder spot. And that is how that works. And you can play around, you can put each part of the set in different places wherever you want. You can also, there's a feature down here, it's dice, and it just randomly selects a beat for you. So you can play around with that. And there's also a power button over here to stop the beat if you want to play around some more. Alright, now what I would like you to do, I would like everyone to choose one of these instruments. I will choose the guitar, and we are going to play a 1, 6, 4, 5, 1 pattern, and it's just going to be in C major, so it'll be C, 2, 3, 4, A minor, F, G. So now can I have everyone play that for me, and we will go in a circle around the room, and we'll have everyone switch from their chords to notes, and then once they're on notes they can improvise a solo. If you know how to play one of these instruments well, I would suggest that you choose that instrument so that you can play around with scales better. Also, for you that have trouble with improvising, if you go, let's say we go to the keyboard app, you can go over here to scale. You hit scales, this little menu pops up, and you can actually choose different scales. For this instance, or for this, we will do just a major pentatonic scale. And it gives you just the notes for the major pentatonic scale.